Thank you, first of all. And as Danfoss, we're working a lot with the industries mentioned. So what I decided to do is to look at the implementation part on what do we do with our products and services and applications to actually enable these energy efficiency gains in the, for instance, very energy-intensive industry, but also with retail, as we heard from IKEA beforehand. So I'm going to skip a few because we have heard a lot already, and I would actually like to pose a question, first of all, to all of you. We heard about implementation, right? Or we want to focus on implementation, but how much of the technologies that you heard about today are actually implemented? Or otherwise put, like, how big is the potential really to realize all that, these energy savings that we could get through the technologies? Because we can clearly see we have the technologies and they're available, and we should definitely also, which is the third point, avoid that we lock ourselves into old technologies. Because if you think about how we achieved in Denmark, and I know that's like the best case example, the decoupling of GDP growth and energy consumption, there were a lot of mistakes also on that way. So I think there's one thing, of course, to see this is like the journey, but we should learn from mistakes. So if you look, for instance, at Dubai, they are at the moment renovating around 30,000 buildings because they were built, they're new, they're 3 years old, but they were built with old technologies, and they kind of have to renovate them already now. That's, of course, not efficient, that's not resource efficient, and we can't, we don't have the energy and the resources on this earth, at least. So the two things, we have the technology, but we need to really change our mindset how we use energy. And therefore, I would like to show 3 cases, one on water, one on district energy, and one on retail, and how we kind of change the business models of these to reuse the energy that we already have. So if you go to a supermarket, the first thing that a supermarket does, of course, is to sell food, right? But if you have a fridge at home, and all of us probably have a fridge at home, if you go to the back side of the fridge, usually what you have there is heat. Because when you cool something, then you have some residual heat, so excess heat. That goes for retail specifically. And this heat you can actually repurpose and just feed into, first of all, you can use it, your supermarket can use it for the own hot water, tap water production for cleaning, but also for heating the supermarket. So in a lot of countries, like in the Nordics, what we would do now is just to, for instance, heat like the market in the winter, and in the summer you can turn it into cool actually through specific products. But this means also that the supermarket business model has to change, because actually, as a supermarket owner, what is your first goal? You want to sell as much food as possible. But then you can actually make money by selling your heat to the local environment. That's possible with the district energy network and the water that we discussed before. But it needs that mindset change. By that, you can then reduce CO2 emissions and save some money that you can invest otherwise. So that's one very concrete example. The same goes circular economy about the energy-intensive industries. So we have steel, cement, and so on that have huge excess heat capacities. And when you fuel that into your city again, you can heat and reduce actually CO2 emissions, because most of the countries would, of course, burn coal, for instance, and you can shut down these individual boilers if you just reuse the heat that you already have produced in your factories and so on. So that's another very concrete example on how we need to rethink, right? Because also a steel plant or so on, they haven't thought about that we could actually use the heat. And then the heat company comes in and says, oh, but then we would sell less heat. But here we need the policies about it, because if we have it already, why should we not reuse it? The same goes actually for wastewater treatment. So all of these sectors that we discussed today, I think from the buildings to transport and so on, you always have 1/3 of energy use going for these sectors. Same with the water. Actually, every city on wastewater treatment has around 1/3 of the electricity bill goes for this treatment. But at the same time here, with these with motor efficiency products like converters, like variable speed drives, you can make this water facility plant an energy producer while still cleaning your water. So again, like We have to rethink. We have the technologies, but we need to kind of bring them together to the best possible use. So now back to the question from the beginning. We have the technologies, but where are we at the implementation? And there, I would like just to show you that are global numbers, and it's very easy products like thermostats, which are in Europe only. And I know we, of course, have a different focus today, but if you think about Europe, and we always claim that we're so energy efficient, but there are like around 550 million households that don't have thermostats, which adapts your heat, so you would open the window instead of turning it down. And that's in Europe. So the potential is high. The same goes for variable speed drives in the textile industry, for instance. We have up at the standby capacity. If you cannot dim your air conditioning or your processes when you have lower capacity, then you just waste energy, basically. So in this room, for instance, even though we were only 2 people now, because it's this certified building, as we heard from John earlier this morning, it wouldn't be cold. But in the US, oftentimes, when you're at a conference, then you freeze when you're like on the 4th day of the conference and you only have 2 people in the room. And that is because they don't have this little technology that enables your air conditioning to turn down when it's needed. So it's about smart thinking again. Like, just because we have it, we don't have necessarily to use it. Yeah. With that, I think I finish.